Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. As you can see, I am not at home. I'm near headquarters in South Florida. I'll be doing primetime pregame tonight from 6 to 7 on CBS Sports HQ. But we have our regular field. Before we bring in the stars of the show, and that includes you, Rob Johnson, Silas Searcy, Jay Rill, Jeff Stenberg, Jason Pogwist in the chat, Farzad. Let's see how we did on Friday, and it wasn't very good, folks. This is not where we want to be. 1-7-1. The golf picks actually went okay considering the circumstances. Chip hit his even money play. I missed my play. Brasco misses the UFC play. Buckets, the SportsLine picks, it just didn't go well. Nothing else to say except we got to bounce back. It's a slow day today, though. So we're going to bounce back. We only have a couple of picks on the show. We've got an MLB SportsLine pick. We've got a tennis pick and a couple of futures. We're going to pepper the board here with Mikey B, with PropStarz, with Mike McClure. Well, let's see where to start. Mikey B, how you doing today? And are you excited about this finals matchup?
Yeah, very excited. I'm great, thanks. So we don't have any games until Thursday. Yeah. This is your opportunity. We had that every night with a basketball game alternating between the Eastern and Western Conference Final. If you've been ignoring your spouse, your significant other, because you've been watching basketball every night, you've got 3 days to make up for it. You put on whichever terrible show they like, and you sit through it because Thursday is the finals and you got to be locked in.
That's really, really good advice. PropStarz, you agree?
I do agree. However, it's officially NFL futures season at PropStarz HQ. So we're locked and loaded. I've been diving in to the NFL futures market heavily. Lots of positions I've been making. I'm excited to share one later today. Also, I'll be transitioning to K-props and pitcher props shortly here as well. So I'm just fired up and we're grinding hard as ever.
That is great to hear because, we have AMAGs, we have Sniper, and then once we turn the page on NBA season, PropStarz, I know you dive into MLB. So everybody buckle up because it's going to start getting really busy with NFL futures, with MLB, and all of those WNBA, golf, a lot of summer sports are very much in play. Mike, one of those summer sports is tennis. I guess, this is probably a good place to start with picks. Why don't you start us off again, slow day. People think it's just a baseball day. They're wrong.
They are wrong indeed. Look, the French Open, a lot of people, if you've been in the Early Edge universe, know we love to bet on Grand Slam tennis. Those are best of 5 matches instead of best of 3. That's where the data really starts to work a little more. And you get these wild swings in odds. So I'm going to play a match here with Jack Draper and Bublik. Or excuse me, not Bublik. He is going to be a very interesting matchup for Jack Draper, in my opinion. Now, Draper is someone that has really stormed onto the scene of late. Like he was a top 30, top 40 player before. He's playing like a top 5 player right now. And while I do think it's mostly sustainable, I think we're seeing a little bit of an overreaction in the pricing. When you look at the money line for this match, I think it's far too wide for where they really are in terms of skill sets on a surface like clay in a best of 5. So I went over 32.5 games. I just really think this number should be at least 34.5. At 32.5, we can still get this in 3 sets. It can still be a straight set victory with a tiebreak and still cash this ticket. That is the part that is appealing to me. If you lose the 32.5 though and have to pay 33.5, I would simply back Bublik to win a set. You can find that around even money to plus 110. But for me, I'm going over on games. When I look at this again, Sia, you know how much I love my cross sport references. When I see Jack Draper, I think Bryson DeChambeau. He's in absolutely incredible shape. He plays in just an overpowering game, but he is so calculated. The other side, Bublik is not going to be. He's going to be very unorthodox. He's going to really throw things at Draper that I think can at least pick off little games at a time. And knowing that it's a best of 5, Draper is in that elite physical condition. Dropping a set is not going to be a concern to him. So I just think this is one that we're looking at a little bit of a longer match than projected here at 32.5. So I'm going to go over on the total games.
All right. It's funny. There were people looking at that in the chat, Mike, and I think they saw on FanDuel it was 31.5, and it got taken down right away. Well, the thing is I think maybe some people were diving in on that bet, and that it just prompted Ben, who is back, by the way. Say hello to Ben. He says, does M squared move lines? There are people who like legitimately move lines, and a few of them are on this show right now. And by the way, I'm not one of them. It's these three here. So anytime, especially on SportsLine, that's why you want to become a SportsLine member. Because PropStarz, correct me if I'm wrong, we had a really bad recap screen, right? I mean, let's just put that out there. A couple of days last week were good. A couple of days were bad as well. You on SportsLine, I do feel like people who watch the show don't understand sometimes that there's like, this is just a microcosm of the picks we have. You've been pretty hot with your NBA picks on SportsLine, correct?
I have indeed. Yeah, we had a very successful close or finish to the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference Finals. So I've been providing lots of winners on the site. Have a nice streak going right now. Knock on wood. Hopefully we can keep that going in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, you and Mikey B have been red hot over on SportsLine. Make sure you are a member there. Okay, so here's the thing. Proppy, I know you have an NFL future to give out. If you have an NFL team that is like your team and you want to know, maybe PropStarz has studied that team, maybe he hasn't, he probably has, and maybe Mike has as well. Let us know who your team is, and maybe we'll get one of these two guys to give out a take on their prospects heading into the season. But PropStarz, one team you are fading, it appears. I'm down here in Fort Lauderdale, 20 minutes north of Miami. It looks like the Dolphins stock is down.
Absolutely, Sia. And I want to preface by stating this is a multi-unit position for me. This is, again, a massive position for me that I'm making early in the offseason. But, yeah, we're fading the Miami Dolphins team total of 8.5 wins. I am shocked this number is not 7.5. I ultimately think it will close there. I personally make it closer to 6.5, or 7 really. But yeah, this is just a big number for a Miami Dolphins team that I think is heading for a potentially catastrophic season. First and foremost, their three best players, Jonnu Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey. There's a strong likelihood all three of them are going to be wearing different jerseys next season. So it could go from bad to worse as far as this Dolphins. Stephen Ross, the owner here, is just not doing a great job. I think a lot of Miami fans would acknowledge that. And then the roster construction is very top heavy, not a lot of depth, have not been impressed with the offseason whatsoever. No real additions here. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a tough season for Miami, especially Tua. You know, he's one injury away from a potentially career-ending injury. And I just don't think this Miami roster really is a 9-win team, frankly. So I think it's going to be tough sledding for this Dolphins team. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever that if they get rid of the trio that I mentioned, they start fire sailing any potential veteran players and just look to accumulate more draft assets. So, yeah, I think the Dolphins are a massive fade for me. Again, I do not think they win 9+ games next season. So I think this is a great spot to fade them, and I would jump on this number now as I ultimately think it'll close at least 7.5.
What's so interesting about this, and I hate to bring up the prospect of Tua getting injured, but it's just such the elephant in the room here that if he goes down with like just a normal injury or a head injury, this Dolphins team is pretty much sunk. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the offseason, their upgrade at the backup quarterback position was Zach Wilson. And I'm not really trying to say Zach Wilson is this awful quarterback, but if you have the prospect of your lead quarterback going down, and that prospect is more, I don't know, he's more prone to going down than other QB1s. I feel like you need to kind of reinforce that QB2 position. I don't feel like they did that.
I couldn't agree more. And I think Zach Wilson may have been the most splashy signing they made in the offseason as well. So, just things do not look good for this Miami Dolphins football team. That clearly the reputation that they have and having, won 14 games 2 years ago, still working in their favor. But I look at this roster top to bottom, and I think it's a 4 or 5 win team.
Speaking of good vibes, or I should say just the opposite of good vibes, is the Washington Commanders. James Barber Jr. says Washington Commanders are going over 9.5 wins at -110, right? And Mike McClure, you fired back immediately on my Commanders. And I don't hate your take. You like the under here, and I think I know why you like the under. Talk to me, though.
Well, several things. One, just second year in the quarterback, expectations extremely high. Schedule is very difficult for them. It really comes down to schedule. I had all these things pulled up here before, but I believe
While
the two divisions that they play, NFC North, AFC West. And you think about the teams in those divisions, it's basically as tough as it gets, right? So I think that was why. Never mind their hard division when you've got to play Philly twice, but I believe they play the AFC West, which includes Kansas City, and then the NFC North, which is going to include Detroit and some of the others.
All right. Gipper's Pick says, only wager I have made is the Eagles and Bills winning the division at plus 150. I guess that would be a parlay. I like those division parlays preseason. We're going to work on some of those Gipper's Picks for sure. Now that we've sort of broken the seal on NFL futures, I'm going to be coming with some NFL futures. Mike McClure is going to be coming with NFL futures and so many others. So very interested in that. I will say this about Washington. Obviously, that is my team. There's probably regression coming in terms of the late game heroics and the fourth down conversions. And I will say, I think they upgraded the offense with Debo and Laramie Tunsil and players like that. But the defense, I thought they addressed in the draft, but I also think that defense is still a pretty bad defense. So I do think it means good things for Jaden Daniels in terms of his numbers, kind of like the Joe Burrow experience where they're going to need to lean on the offense in a huge way. But I do think we could see some regression. I think 10 wins is in play, though. I would lay off of that one, but I'd also invest more in Mike's opinion on this than mine. All right, let's go to a BetMGM promo. How about that? A BetMGM account holders will receive a French Open odds boost token. Oh, how about that timing? To use the token, add a wager made up of entirely French Open bets to your bet slip and activate the token. Score extra winnings if your wager that was made with the odds boost token wins. BetMGM, make your Mike McClure play there, and you'll get that odds boost token in play. All right, how about a SportsLine pick? Let's finally move to baseball. We will have much more baseball tomorrow. It's actually a bigger slate, but we'll have our sort of regular slate of baseball cappers on the rest of the week, including tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. But our SportsLine pick is the Brewers money line plus 105. That one courtesy of Bruce Marshall. I think that line has moved a little bit since he put it in on SportsLine. There's still a dog, but I think maybe it's at some places closer to even money at this point. We got to get to home run plays. We got to get to an NBA Finals series score from Mikey B. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Before we get into home run plays and to Mikey B's NBA Finals play, Mikey B, there are questions in the chat. People want to know who your football team is.
Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. Unfortunately, I mean, that was fun when Eli Manning was the quarterback and they were beating the Patriots, and now it stinks. Hopefully, they'll be a little bit more competitive this season. Yeah, wah wah. Look at Ben, the Bears fan, throwing that out there. Yeah, it's not fun to be a Giants fan right now, but you always stick with your team through thick and thin.
Fair enough. No, that's true. PropStarz, I do want to ask you, Lowdown 612 says, how are the Texans at plus money to win the AFC South? I will say this before you give your answer. I'm not huge on the Texans this year. I don't really particularly like what they've done. Talk to me about the Texans, though, in the AFC South.
Yeah, I would agree. I've actually really not necessarily fading Texans, but I've been impressed with Tennessee's offseason, and I even like Jacksonville's as well. And Indy too. So I think the division is going to be stronger than it has been recently. So yeah, Texans to me aren't a clear favorite. Yeah, I'd have to be getting a better price probably to back them really as a result of the division being, I think it'll be significantly tougher than it has been over the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I'm not sure what the number is on the Texans to win the division, but yeah, I'd probably make them around plus 150 to plus 200.
I like the Colts. I think the Colts are sneaky, and I think adding Daniel Jones in case Anthony Richardson is the Anthony Richardson we've seen injured and not a particularly great thrower. I know Daniel Jones' stock is down with everybody, but I think he's enough to propel what I think is a pretty good team all around. So I think that's a sneaky play in the AFC South. More on that later on the early edge. All right, let's get to Mikey B before we get to home run props. Let's get to your series price, because again, we've got the Thunder. We've got the Pacers. I think a lot of people are saying, hey, these are two small markets. They're not like super interested. People who are watching this show are going to be interested in the NBA Finals regardless. And by the way, PropStarz, credit to you. You've been singing the praises of Indiana this entire time before the playoffs even started. Mikey B, talk to me about the direction this series is going to go and a particular series score that you like.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with series score, Thunder to win 4-1 at plus 250. Now, they're minus 700 to win the NBA Finals. We are obviously not betting that. Those odds are crazy. However, I do think the Thunder are the vastly superior team here. Tyrese Halliburton is the engine that drives the Pacers. Well, the Thunder are going to throw Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, and Kayson Wallace at him. That is going to be a big problem for the Pacers. Also, the Thunder, they can play any style that the Pacers want to play. So let's say they got Miles Turner on the floor. The Thunder can go big with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. If they want to go small and play Siakam at the 5, then the Thunder can just go small with Jalen Williams at the 5. So they have different ways to attack the Pacers. I don't think the Pacers get blown out in games. I was kind of surprised. 9.5 is a pretty big number for game one. I think they keep games close, and I do think they win a game, but I don't think they win 2. I can't see them winning 2. I wouldn't be shocked if the Pacers got swept, but I think the way this unfolds, the Thunder wins game 1 and 2 at home. The Pacers get 1 of 2 games in Indiana, and then the Thunder close things out at home in game 5.
I do have to get your response, PropStarz, because you are sort of the authority on the Indiana Pacers at this point. And if maybe that's not just my opinion, Eric David says, thanks to Proppy, I hit Indiana Eastern Conference champions at plus 3,200, which is insane. Congratulations to Eric. But PropStarz, do we expect maybe a little bit more resistance, at least from you, than what Mikey B is offering?
No, I absolutely think so. I think this series is going to be closer than the odds makers think, than the general consensus. Again, this Pacers team is continuing to be overlooked, in my opinion. I think they have a lot of things working in their favor, starting with Rick Carlisle, the head coach. I think their depth has been tremendous. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I favor Oklahoma City, but I do not think that Oklahoma City should be minus 700. I think it's going to be significantly closer. The Pacers can hang. They're in a great spot. Everyone's counting them out. They're a serious underdog, despite having played just incredible basketball post All-Star break, heading into the playoffs, and then in the playoffs, they're healthy, they're peaking. And again, this is just a good spot when everyone's counting them out. So yeah, I love the Pacers. I'm riding with them. I think they have a shot, legitimate shot to win against Oklahoma City, who are obviously a tremendous team. But at the very least, I think this series will be competitive.
Liddy in the chat has the Pacers at plus 1,400 currently. So he's certainly hoping. You're right, PropStarz. Well, Mike McClure, as we see the odds up on the screen, courtesy of Ben, can you settle the tie for us? I mean, it looks like we have, one opinion that says Indiana might not win, but they're going to be super competitive. Mikey B says sort of the other side of it, which is, well, Oklahoma City's going to win pretty handily. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that the Pacers have the ability to make it close. I think as far as what's important to them is they really need to steal game 1. I think that the longer the series goes, obviously, I still give the edge to Oklahoma City, just the way that they have the athletes defensively to just go make any adjustments that are needed. And that's what's likely to win them the series. So if I wanted to bet Indy, I haven't bet anything on this series now, but how I would back Indy if I was bullish on Indy would be taking them plus 9.5 in game 1, and then looking to continue to buy on them in certain ways the rest of the way. But for me, it's they've got to be competitive in game 1.
Mikey B, can I ask you something about Indy real quick? I mean, one thing that I overlooked, I didn't overlook it. I mentioned it when I said I thought the Minnesota series was going to go 6 or 7 games. I did say, hey, Minnesota's got to limit the turnovers. Well, easy for me to say, not easy to do. Do you think Indiana's going to have an easier time, not easier time, but a better time in terms of limiting the turnovers than Minnesota did? Because we know this OKC defense just gets after you.
Yeah, Halliburton generally doesn't turn the ball over much, which is really good, and it's a big advantage for the Pacers. I mean, the problem is the Thunders, they get their hands everywhere. So the officiating has been favoring defense in the playoffs, which it usually does.
Mhm.
It favors more physical defense. I do think that'll help. That's why I don't think you're going to see the Thunder win 3 games by 10 plus points in this series. I think there's going to be close games, kind of like if you remember last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Pacers put up a fight against the Celtics, but they didn't win. They lost the games, but every game was kind of close and they weren't getting blown out. So I could see something kind of similar to that playing out.
All right. Let's take a look at some home run props before we get to the recap screen here. And by the way, I don't have a pick today. I'll have a pick tomorrow for the RBC Canadian Open. And I do want to remind everybody, our show at 7 o'clock, our DFS show, it's going to be me and Mike because Rick is traveling. That's probably going to be closer to 7:15 than 7 o'clock. And that's partly because I'll be doing primetime pregame on HQ from 6 to 7. So hopefully you can join us for both 6 to 7, where you'll see Mike. You may see PropStarz as well. I'm trying to remember the cast, but at 7:15, our DFS show on the SportsLine YouTube channel for the RBC Canadian will be going. All right, top MLB home run plays per the SportsLine model. Juan Soto, that's a familiar name. Plus 330 says SportsLine. The real odds, plus 450. Pretty good value there. Willy Adames, plus 600 versus plus 750. And Zach Neto, plus 465 versus plus 650. Looking like some pretty good value on what I think is a 7-game slate tonight. Mike, you haven't run any home run, your model. You haven't run it yet, have you?
I have not for home runs. No, not yet.
Gotcha. All right. I know when you were saying Bublik, you were saying you slipped and you said Bubich. I thought you had baseball on your mind. So
I had baseball on my mind because Bubich did just pitch, but
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it. Again, it's a very slow day today, a slower day than normal. And that's why we're not going to force a ton of picks. That's why we had a lot of futures, only one SportsLine MLB pick. And obviously we have the tennis pick as well. We'll have more picks as the week progresses. Tomorrow I'll have a pick. We'll have more baseball picks. And so appreciate you kind of sticking with us on a sleepy Monday, but we were able to cover NBA, French Open, and NFL. Like somebody reminded me, is it 94 days away from NFL season? I should have led the show with that. Is there a 94 somebody can put in the chat? Because I'm drawing a blank. Is it Charles Haley? He was 94, right? Anyone? Do we remember Charles Haley, 94? I think I'm right about that. So we are Charles Haley days away from NFL season. Tomorrow will be 93. Yes, says CID. Charles Haley was 94. PropStarz, go ahead.
That's a deep cut. Kudos to you, Sia. 93 was Dwight Freeney 93?
Yes, I think so. Nice. Good job. Well, yeah, hold that thought because we gotta do that tomorrow. But yes, tomorrow will be Dwight Freeney days away. The fact that we're able to do this numbers game for the rest of the way means we're close enough to NFL season to start talking NFL season even on this early edge show. Very, very excited. Yes. By the way, does anybody know where Charles Haley went to college? James Madison University. Where's buckets when you need them? All right, ladies and gentlemen, DeMarcus Ware, says Christian Hastings. That's a good one. That's a really good one. All right, thanks for being in the chat. Darren Mercurio, Rich Hall, Scott Y, Gipper's Picks, Farzad always in here, Tubin, James Madison. See, Tubin knew that. Alex Jones, love to see it. All right, let's get to the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. NBA Finals series correct score, Thunder 4-1 at plus 250. That's courtesy of Mikey B. Then we've got Bublik and Draper over 32.5 games at minus 110. And then we got an NFL future, Miami Dolphins under 8.5 wins at minus 140. That was a multi-unit play from PropStarz. Then we go to the SportsLine pick. It was the Milwaukee Brewers money line. I believe that was a SportsLine pick. Yeah, plus 105. That one courtesy of Bruce Marshall. Tubin says, Gary Clark, the greatest jam you do. Well, it's technically Charles Haley, but I do like the shout out to the Washington football team back then called something different. All right. Thanks for being on the show. Mikey B, PropStarz, Mike McClure. Ben is back in the saddle on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4. And thank you, KC3, Connor Johnston, Mark Buckholtz, Seth is in here, Lowdown 612, Brad Morris. We'll see you tomorrow on the Early Edge. But don't forget, primetime pregame tonight on HQ. I'll be on there hosting that. But also at 7:15 on this SportsLine YouTube channel, it'll be the RBC Canadian DFS show with me and Mike McClure going back and forth with some of our favorite plays. Certainly a betting angle on that show as well. Well, on behalf of the crew here and Ben back on the 1s and 2s, my name is Sia Nejad. This is the Early Edge. We rest our case.